What is up, everybody? Happy Schlockvember. I'm Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson, and this is my compatriot, Chris Anonymous. How's it going, Chris?
Fantabulous. How are you?
I am doing great. I got to ask you, how was your Halloween?
My Halloween was amazing.
Yeah? Well, it has anything crazy happened? Like at midnight? At midnight of Halloween? Did anything happen last night at midnight?
Right. Yeah. There was this fog that rolled in.
Ooh, tell me all about it.
Well, there was this fog that rolled in, and there was something in the fog. There was something in the fog. It was ballerinas.
Oh man, that sounds
frightening.
Way better than what we're going to talk about. Of course, I'm being a little silly because, as you can tell, we are not live currently. We recorded this actually the night before on October 31st, Halloween. So we are coming to you from the past, which I guess if you don't watch it live, then I guess we're always coming to you from the past.
But happy Halloween to all our listeners.
Yeah.
However many you may be.
So the movie we have for you this week is interesting movie. I really enjoyed it. It is called The Fog. Unfortunately, there are no ballerinas in it. There are maritime ghosts of sorts in there. This is a movie. It came out in 1980, I believe. It was one of the first flicks by John Carpenter. It was the second movie, not TV series, movie that Jamie Lee Curtis appeared in. The first being, Chris,
Halloween,
right?
Which is today.
Yes, today.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yes, today.
So this movie, low budget movie, it cost about $1.1 million to make. And it made at the box office worldwide $21.5 million. So not a low budget movie in the box office. And I think as we talk about this, we'll see that sort of the blessing and the curse of this movie is its low budgetness.
Yes.
Low budgetedness.
Low budget.
Is that a word?
Tree.
I don't know.
Low budget tree.
I think you can put the word ness or the suffix, right? Ness at the end of any word and make it a new word.
Like lock.
I'm claiming it. Loch Ness.
Yeah.
That's right.
Are there any good Loch Ness movies?
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
there should be.
There should be. But let's continue.
If anybody knows of any good Loch Ness movies, let us know.
Yeah, we'll watch them. We'll tell you why they suck.
We'll watch anything. So, Chris, do you have anything else? Any interesting tidbits about this movie, or do you want to get right into the good, the bad, and the schlock?
Yeah, the good, bad, and the schlock. I mean, you've said it. It was low budget. Definitely was its blessing and cursing.
It's curseness.
Curseness. So the good, the cast, the direction, the camera work, just the how good he made it look for such a low budget. The music, which of course he wrote. So there's lots of good. Lots of good.
I want to touch on two of those things. The first thing, just because I didn't really even remember it until now, the music. So the music, there was one theme in it that came up like 2 or 3 times, and it had like this really high pitched ding, 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 and it went on for a very long time, both times. And I thought my head was going to explode. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or is that just like my particular tinnitus that it's bugging me?
I think it's a little bit of both. I know the part you're talking about, but it didn't have that same effect on me, but it was still noticeable.
I'm just an old man, I guess. I was like, the music, it's too annoying.
I think coming off of Halloween, the point is to notice the music, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it definitely does sound very Halloween-y. like the do 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 or whatever, however it goes. The song.
That one song.
Yeah, the Halloween song. And yeah, I was just going to bring that up real quick. But the vistas, the cinematography of this movie is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
He chose to shoot in that wider frame, and it just looks so good.
Right. Everything just seems to be framed so well. And it was pointed out to me, yeah, it's God's backdrop. I mean, he chose a beautiful place.
Yeah, I have locations written under here. So I have a picture of the stairs to the lighthouse. Right?
Yeah.
That is just a cool shot, a cool location. Like,
so I'm the one that gets all the screenshots for this. And when you pulled up, when you gave me the timestamp to get the stairs, now look at these stairs. They are long as shit.
They go on forever.
I thought that was going to be in the schlock portion, because I remember watching this movie and thinking, man, there is no way I would carry my groceries down or up those stairs. That is insane. They need a stair lift on there.
It would be. It almost feels like something that like Tim Burton would put in a movie that was just made up for that movie. But this is a real place. This place really exists. Someone really. Yeah. And I love that. Like, it's just, you see that place and you're like, how does this, what? And then there it is.
Who would do that?
Yeah. And then that beautiful shot of her walking down, and I would have watched her walk down the entire way.
Well, thank heavens that didn't happen. Right. Like I said, a lot of things in my good column come from just how this movie was shot, how the cinematography was handled. Movie about the fog, right? That's kind of the main element of this movie. One thing I noticed, and it seems very obvious to me from a production standpoint, but the lighting used on the fog, right? It would have been very easy to just have this white mist throughout, but they use color very well. They make the fog blue, they make it red, and it like really adds that atmosphere.
Yeah. It's this weird, like neon kind of glow to it.
Yeah. They just really take advantage of that concept.
Almost like a cartoon. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, they have that Edgar Allan Poe quote in there that I don't remember what it is. It's like life is a dream within a dream, or all that we see is within a dream, and it does create this very hazy, dreamlike quality to it. To when it's happening, you can't really tell. Like, is this reality? Is this a dream?
Well, and that it starts with that ghost story around the campfire, right? Which is what we were kind of parodying at the beginning of the episode. But that also kind of sets the tone for this kind of campfire ghost story dream. Right. Yeah, just otherworldly.
Exactly. And throughout the movie, there's just these really great, I said, like, just consistently eerie things. So a few of the things that I had written down. So one of them is that music, right? That sound, even though it's annoying to me, it's there specifically to create tension for the viewer. And they have these types of things throughout the entire movie. Another thing, the foghorn, I can't remember what scene it was, but there's rising tension. I think maybe it's when they're going to save her son, I believe. But there's a foghorn, womp, womp, going off in the background. And it just adds this audio unease. Let's see, the lighthouse light itself, when we see the lighthouse going and we see the light going across, I forget her name in the movie, the DJ going across her face the entire time. It really creates that atmosphere.
It does.
And my favorite part of the movie, which is like 2 seconds long, it's when they bring the driftwood. It's part of the old ship that drowned. When she brings it back up into the lighthouse, into a radio station, and it catches on fire. I think that's just such a good, eerie scene, probably the best, in my opinion, scene in the movie. One, it's eerie because of the radio promos playing in the background. Again, just very repetitive. It grades on me how those promos turn into like the ghost voice about how there's an albatross following the town, and meaning a curse following the town, and people have to die. And then the wood bursts into flames. Like, that was probably my favorite part of the movie. And I wish it would have been extended a little bit longer.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you have any more good stuff.
I have good stuff, but it also kind of just dovetails right into schlock. So I think I'm going to save it for schlock. Right.
Well, so I will say, like, for good, we're talking a lot about visuals, the audible. It seems a lot like, to me, kind of like an early art house horror film, which I both like, but that also goes directly into my bad column.
Okay.
Not that it's art house, but that I thought this movie was slow.
Yeah. Well, so slow. It's not that long of a movie, though.
Right. At 88 minutes, that movie felt like 4 hours to me. And I attribute it to a couple of things. One, the radio. They're playing like soft jazz. Now, okay. I guess they got jazz on the radio for this because it was cheaper to get than rock and roll,
which made sense. Yeah, it felt like a stylistic choice, more due to budget than style.
Well, it's kind of again, I'm not knocking it. This is a lot of like personal preference, just because I would probably rather be killed by a fog monster than have to listen to slow jazz for the rest of my life. But I do think it is kind of a good juxtaposition of, right, there's this really terrifying thing going on, but this really like easy music going on in the background.
You wonder, like, if someone were to re-edit the film, just replacing the radio music with different genres, how that would make the film feel. Yeah, like a death metal, a hip hop, a country western, like, are like what was actually playing on the radio at that time, probably some Eagles and stuff.
Well,
Yellow.
There is a remake of this movie.
I have not seen it.
It's I saw it a long time ago. I don't remember anything about it. It stars I can't remember her name. She's in a lot of cool movies, but I don't think she's that great of an actress.
Her
Maggie something, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I just need to check it out again.
Yeah, but we have to watch that. Anything? What else is in your bad column besides it being slow and soft jazz?
Well, it's mainly that it's slow. I will point out that 15 minutes into the movie, we're still watching the credits, the introductory credits,
which I think is awesome.
And we talk a lot about pacing in movies and where like certain things need to happen within story structure and a plot line. 15 minutes in, like, that's the movie should be up and running by then. Like, we should have we should be locked into the story, and they're still like haunting the town on the first night.
If it was like, a 2.5 hour Marvel movie or a Titanic or something that's like 3 hours long, 15-minute intro makes sense. But when you're barely an hour and a half with credits, you're probably right.
Trying to look at it, that is like nearly 20% of the movie is credits.
That's funny. I think part of that slow setup is this isn't in my bad column per se, but it's interesting that like usually when you have such a short story like that just doesn't take place, you really focus on one or two characters, right? Mm-hmm. And this was just so ensemble-y. And a lot of times in an ensemble film, it's going to run longer because you're going to focus on each group. And so it was interesting on how well they brought all these characters together that weren't normally together. I thought that was like a positive and a negative. It was just interesting. Right. It was just like there's not a whole lot of bad I want to say about the film. It's just a lot of strange choices, and that'll come up again in my schlock section. Is just bizarro choices throughout on so many different things. But my one bad thing, and again, it's personal preference, but it's slightly silly. I mean, when the fog attacks the telephone pole, and I think we have a picture of that. Yeah, I know it's like at the beginning.
First of all, that's not a telephone pole. That's an electrical pole.
Okay, you're right. It's still insanely silly, like that shot. And then it just like puffs up. And then they start falling. It was just ridiculous. And it's one of my favorite moments in the movie, but it's just so silly. I was laughing, and I don't know if that's what they wanted me to do. Like it deflated a lot of the horror and terror out of me.
Well, and there's another scene where it goes into, I'm guessing, like the generators of the town. So it completely takes out all of the power in the town,
which I thought was awesome. I thought the blackout, that whole idea was very inspired.
Oh, really? So you liked that it took out the power generators, but you didn't like that it took out the power lines.
I was okay with it taking out the power lines. It was the way it was shot. The way it was shot and the way the fog just puffed up was so silly. And I don't know if I like the fog taking out the power. I thought that was a great way to like up the stakes of like, okay, it's dark now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So I like that. I don't know how much I liked the idea of the fog being this sentient being outside of the possible ghost pirates.
Well, that's that. So we're kind of transitioning for me in what I have written down in my talking points, transitioning into what was schlocky about it. And it's just that there's a lot of undefined things. And so, yeah, look at these guys. What is the fog per se? We hear in it, they're not pirates. I think maybe in the remake, maybe they're pirates. But in this, they're like a bunch of poor bastards that were trying to go start a leopard colony or something like that. And the 6 founders of the town sunk the ship and stole their gold. So they're not pirates. They're maybe now.
Can we cut to the picture of Blake?
Well, he's got a saber, but I mean, like, man, that just means he like has a gat. You know, he was just like packing back in the day.
So I got multiple things to say about this, but here's my point. If it looks like a pirate and it walks like a ghost pirate, it's a ghost pirate. But you're right. Here's the problem is that visually this is ghost pirate. Story-wise, what they've told me is this is some sad people who probably had leprosy and they won this guy who wanted to help them out. So like, I don't know how they turned into these badasses with all these cool weapons and glowy eyes. And like, it felt like, go ahead.
They don't have Blake, who's the commander of the ship. He's the only one that has the saber, that has the sword.
Yeah, but
the other ones, they have hooks. Well, that's like a tool, right? A hook isn't a weapon; it's a tool for
pirates.
For sailors, it's for like I don't know, grabbing rope. or something.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a tool, but I'm just saying, they wanted the visual aesthetic of a pirate.
Well, yeah.
And that's
so they should have just stuck with pirates.
So that's what I'm saying. Like that picture of Blake, man, he looks so cool. And like,
the red eyes.
So I would have liked more of that, where they came out of the fog more and like some attacking. What was really cool was when she was on the on top of
the lighthouse.
Yeah, that was just such a cool looking scene with them coming in from each end. But so go ahead, back to your schlock.
Well, so it again, just kind of staying on the subject, talking about what is the fog. We see the fog in a few different ways, right? It attacks the power lines, so it's like maybe this sentient thing. I had a hard time trying to figure out, like, okay, so the ghost pirates, we'll call them, are they traveling in the fog as ghosts, right? Like as like ethereal beings, and I think we just had the picture up, or are they like zombie pirates, zombie people from the depths of the sea that have come up to seek revenge? And we have this picture here where she gets a good look at him while she's up on top of the lighthouse, and there's worms coming out, and there's the green skin. But we also have the scene in the morgue where they find the guy who was on the seagrass ship that was attacked. And the doctor or the coroner, they're talking about how, he looks like he's been drowned and he's been underwater for like over a month. And now he's not one of the ghost pirates. He's just a guy that's been killed by the ghost pirates. He gets up and starts to walk toward Jamie Lee Curtis's character with a knife, implying that maybe he would stab her, but he writes the number 3 on the floor, implying that 3 victims have been taken. But so again, like, are these zombies? Are they coming? Are they people coming up from the depths that are traveling through the fog? Like, I think that while the fog is a great concept, a great low budget concept, I don't think that they really nailed down what it actually was.
So I have a meta theory, and actually, you had asked me in the beginning if there was some fun factoid, and there is something interesting that I was reading about this. It wasn't long enough when they had the first cut. It was like 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And so the scene that you just talked about where he walks in the morgue, that was one of the added scenes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Now, the scene that I was talking about a second ago where she's on top getting attacked, that's an added scene, because not only was it not long enough, but the test audiences evidently were saying that it wasn't scary enough. Like, someone was like, you need more scares. And there's a couple more they added. And that whole intro where it's the campfire ghost story.
Yeah, I knew
that was also added. Now, you were talking about how the fog is undefined. With that intro, what it feels like to me is like this whole thing is another story that's just being told by that campfire guy. And when you tell kids a ghost story at a campfire, right? You don't necessarily care about continuity or like defining the parameters of the ghost. You care about keeping your audience locked in and maintained, right? So when you see the kids start yawning or start looking away, that's when you add in the thing. And then, maybe later on, you're back in your bunk and Billy's like, but this didn't make sense. And at that point, it doesn't matter anymore.
Billy.
Right. Because the point of the story was to hold you in its grip while the story lasted. And anything after that is just extra. So I think that's my meta theory of like, it's one big campfire ghost story. And so it doesn't matter if the fog is doing this thing here and they're part zombie, part ghost, part leper, part pirate.
Right.
It's all meant to like, okay, we need why is he up and walking like a zombie? Because the kids were getting bored at that point in time. And so I added it in.
Man, I don't know. I think that's actually a really great theory, and that fills in a lot of holes. I hope that's an official explanation somewhere. And if it's not, it's an official explanation right here, because I can kind of point out little plot holes all day long. But I mean, you're right. It starts us off with kids around a campfire. So, but in order, I think we have a few minutes left. So I'm going to keep going.
I still have like several things I want to talk to you about and ask you about. Do you have anything pressing, or should I go real quick?
I want you to go real quick.
Okay. So some strange things. So the Harbinger, right? He's basically the priest when he finds the journal, and he only warns 2 people.
Right.
Which is really interesting. Like usually that trope is like you warn the whole group.
Right. And I thought pretty much all of the characters could have been used better, right? The priest, he is the descendant of one of the founders. He's the Harbinger. He has the information. He should have been more of a main character. I want to get this shot in really quick. Okay. The hitchhiker girlfriend, Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Love that character.
I thought it was a throwaway character. I think it was giving an actress a bit, because like just the way they introduce her, it
has my favorite line in the whole thing. Are you weird?
Yeah. I'm definitely weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, too. It's a great little intro, but to me, that the way they intro the relationship doesn't add anything to the movie that her just being there as his girlfriend wouldn't have added otherwise. I think all of the people in the movie, the main characters, should have been descendants of the 6 founders in some way.
Well, and Janet Leigh, I mean, that whole point doesn't, her character and her assistant really don't matter. I mean, a little more than Jamie Lee Curtis's, but yeah, right. I think all the characters are underdeveloped, and I think the story is slight. Like if you boil it down, these pirates come in, they warn you that they're only taking 6 people. I don't know why you would tell the audience that, because now, and by the time you learn that, they've already killed 4.
Right. But by the implication of the movie by the end is that the fog is like rolling through the entire town. And I have a shot of the babysitter, the poor old lady.
She's number 5, right?
Is she? To me, she seems just like an innocent bystander to show us that these guys will, like, they're just killing willy-nilly. They'll take anybody, you know.
They will, but they for some reason focus on this small group at the church.
Yeah, and they say over the radio, everybody get to the church, and like 4 people show up, right? Correct. So did they kill the entire town? Well, no, they're only after 6 people.
And by the time you know that, they've already killed 4, so it takes all the terror out of it. Like, right. It's sweeping through the town, and then they the first time they get a clue, it's the gold, and they find the gold and they give the gold back, and then it's done.
And that is, I think, my last point, the gold cross plot. I feel like that gold cross should have been front and center. I think that's such a cool shot. It's such a cool
it was
visual.
So wicked. Yeah.
That cross should have been front and center on top of the church, and they should have referenced that over and over again throughout the movie until they find out, it's the gold cross. We got to give that back to them.
Right. And then I love, like, at the end, he's still drunk and hates himself. So he's like, why didn't you take me, Blake? And then Blake pops back like, fine, quit your whining. I'll kill you too. Which is totally just a, end of the movie scare, right? That's the obligatory end of the movie. It's the scare, but it doesn't matter because he was the 6th. So it's still over. Okay. Right. Here's the other weird thing about this horror movie. They all live.
Yeah.
All of them live. I mean, even the father, except for he has to die at the end.
Yeah. Well, that could have been tacked on, you know?
Right.
Anyway, that is all the time that we have for today. We're getting sung out. What is our next movie, Chris?
Okay. Our next movie is George A. Romero's Knight Rider.
Knight Rider. All right. Yes. We'll get it up online. I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous.
Chris Anonymous. Why was this movie rated R?
I don't know. Until next time, we have been compelled by schlock. Take it easy.
Wait, no.